He heard from people across the road, and so some of the group here, that we wish we knew what they were doing and vice versa. So he has volunteered to sort of help us organize our thoughts and our questions to them before they arrive here, and we report back to them.
Thanks a lot. I think the basic idea is that if you're one of the few people in this room, you are expressing an interest, or at least willing to be physically expressing an interest in what's going on at the sessions that you have not attended, right? But we were all preparing maybe to passively express that interest while 3 or 4 people talk to us when our brains are already pretty much shot about what they did elsewhere. I'm thinking we can probably, since we have a little bit of time because they're running late and they will not be here for 20 minutes or so, to actually put more intentional thought and collaboration into preparing this overlap that we have with them, because it really is one of the only remaining times that we overlap with them. And they're not over there talking about innovations in modern dance or something like that. They're talking about stuff that relates very intimately to what you do, right? They're often the people challenging you. I mean, people who like are content people, right? Knowledge sharing people are telling you we need systems to do this. Sometimes you're telling them here's a new system, change everything you ever wrote so that it works with this, right? There's all kinds of kind of friction and overlap. So the idea is, since we've got this time, and since they're going to be coming in here to pay attention to what we've done, why don't we think about what we as a group can kind of ask of them and communicate to them? So I think one of the best places to start is by trying to define what is the actual overlap that we're all sitting here to be a part of in the next hour. Like, where do you, not what it is, but where are the important parts of that overlap that we ought to maybe talk about and offer suggestions about? When does your innovation have a bearing on knowledge sharing, right? Or vice versa. So this is going to be, I don't have a presentation, right? So I'm going to be depending on people in the room to speak so that before we have our final kind of recaps, we can at least have an overture of communication to the people who join us for the last half hour, right? So where do you, who are still in the room, many of whom have been focused on innovation and who may be technologists, where do you think the important overlap is? The overlap that you can affect or better or facilitate between people who try to share knowledge and create content and people who create new ways for them to do that. Is there somebody else with a microphone, or am I just going to be handing this one around? I don't mind either way. Great. Let's start in the back.
I think that there was a really great idea that came up with the emergency preparedness group, was taking a look at training scenarios or training innovation using games. I mean, fundamentally, training situations are a game within itself, but seeing how that we're dealing with communities that are that span the globe, and we're looking to address particular issues with communities that may not have the exact same access to the same information that we have, is devising those particular games that are replicable, as well as at a peer-to-peer level. So that way we can have trainers training trainers to keep on going. And also really try to invigorate, one of the wonderful ideas was the fact of developing games in the sense that we see the military in the United States actively go out and produce games to engage new warfighters. Well, how about reinvigorating a community that is game players for development or disaster relief?
Great. What I think is probably the best way to do this, by the way, is maybe to get just 1 or 2 more ideas up here, and then brainstorm a little bit about 1 or 2 specific things we can either suggest or ask, or even ask them what we can do to facilitate this kind of overlap from their part. So we'll look for 1 or 2 more ideas and then just dig into them real quick, because this is going to end approximately 3 minutes after other people come into the room, because then normal activities resume, right? This is our high pressure, let's do something useful little moment. So who else has something to contribute?
I think that, so there are 2 things that I see as really valuable in overlap. One is this question that keeps coming up in these sessions, and I'm sure in some form over in the knowledge sharing track, of it's almost a statement. It's that data coming in from people who we don't pay and work with and know very well is bad. That is dangerous, is this idea of quality assurance, of data or verification of data. And I think that if you're talking about knowledge sharing with people en masse, or talking about getting data in on deployments of you know, whatever, we're going to have to address this issue at some point, that of, is data coming in from the crowd bad or scary or dangerous? And the other thing is what Jihad had talked about a little bit, this idea of bringing together groups of people who wouldn't normally work together. And I know there's a great example in Central African Republic of one of the first wikis that I saw in the UN system, where people from different agencies just came together because of need. And I think that because we have so much access now, and there's so many people producing information, we have a chance to have these communities that form because of need, that are quick, and that disappear. And so one is this is data from the crowd, sort of scary, and the other is it really bad to have a community that comes to life for a little bit and then disappears? And how do we capture that before it disappears? Because it's by nature of these communities that they should disappear. You can't hold everybody to be talking about Web4Dev 09 a year from now. They'll be talking about different things. So how do we manage to capture that knowledge and turn that into the next point of discussion?